Hello, I'm James, welcome to Snap Muppet. Today we're going to be talking about the token shop. So, if you've been playing the game for more than a month or two, you'll probably have already unlocked the token shop. If you haven't, when you get to level 500, collection level 500, you will unlock the token shop. You'll be granted a sort of welcome to the token shop bonus of 3,000 tokens. And this is for you to purchase cards in the token shop. So basically, cards in the token shop will cost a certain amount of tokens. If it's a Series 5, I think it's 6,000. If it's a Series 4, it's 3,000, and if it's a Series 3, then it's 1,000 tokens. What you need to do is you need to spend your tokens wisely, because they are so hard to come by. The best way, well, I say the best way, but one of the ways to get tokens is from collector's caches, caches that you open throughout your collector level. You have a 25% chance of receiving 100 tokens. If you've completed Series 3, the chance of actually getting them reduces to 22%, but the amount, I think it's 22, but the amount that you get increases to 400. So once you've completed the Series 3 card collection, there is, you will get more tokens. It will be better for you. But until then, we need to have a look at what we're going to do with those tokens and how we're going to spend them. So I'll say what I did, and this doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way in the entire world, and it actually, I know that it isn't, because I didn't do it very efficiently. But if I had, in hindsight, done it how I am now going to say I would do it, that is for me the way to do it. So let's forget in-game purchases where you can purchase bundles that include tokens, and let's say that you're going to get to 500 and you're going to get given your 3,000 tokens. Personally, I think that if you get to 1,000 collector's level and 2,000, I think there should be a reward of tokens in there somewhere. Perhaps another 3,000. It would urge players to continue to play and not get frustrated by the fact that they can't get cards. So let's have a look at what it is anyway. So I've got the token shop here. Every 8 hours this card will refresh and I will be offered a new card. It can be a Series 3 card, a 4 card, or a 5 card. The price varies on how I just explained it at the start there. And if you purchase that card, it will never show up again. If you don't purchase that card, it won't show up until all of the cards you haven't got have been cycled through. You can pin a card. Now, as you can see, I've got null pinned here. I have nowhere near enough tokens for it. But what I know that I want this card in the future. There's a deck I want to build around it. Unfortunately, the card has been offered to me very early, way before I can afford it. But I know that if I unpin it, it's going to be a long time until I see this card again. And I know that's what I want to play. And this is what I'm going to talk about now. And that's basically thinking about what you want to play in the future and pinning the card or cards that you will want to play with. So what I did was I put some decks together. So I put a Patriot deck together because I wanted to play Patriot, and I pinned Ultron. I wrote down which cards I needed to complete this deck. I needed Ultron and I needed Mystique. Oops, sorry, that's Patriot. But yeah, and I needed Mystique. I wanted to play this deck, and I thought it would be the deck that took me to Galactic, or that I could at least compete up to Infinity with. So I wrote those down. So I had, I wrote Patriot deck, Mystique, Ultron. That's what I needed. I also put together a Destroy deck where I'd written that I needed Death, and I think Deadpool, yeah, Death and Deadpool were the cards I needed for that. And then I wrote another deck, which was a dinosaur, the Devil Dinosaur deck. You'll have all seen it with the Moon Girl, where you duplicate your dinosaur, play 2 dinosaurs, whatever. Which, by the way, works really well with Quinjet. If you've not tried it, Quinjet, it gives cards that didn't start in your deck 1 less cost, and when you've got all these other cards that pull cards in from various places, it's quite powerful. So yeah, I put those 3 decks together on SnapFan. If you haven't been on SnapFan yet, it is the best resource for building decks. If you look down here, this Marvel Snap deck builder, that's on snap.fan. You can have a look at all the cards you haven't got. You can look to the future, plan. You can see win rates. There's so much. It's just the best. It's so useful. So hats off to those guys. But what you can do is you can put some decks together. Even before you unlock the token shop, to be fair. And what I did was I had 2 cards that I needed in each deck, and I wasn't particularly bothered which deck I played. It was more whichever card comes up first, that's the deck I'm going to play. So I think it was the Patriot deck, and Mystique came up. So I just snapped Mystique up, I spent my thousands, whatever. So then I only needed to get Ultron to complete that deck, but then obviously, because that's how life works, the next card that came up was Deadpool. So it's like, well, great, so do I buy Deadpool now and try and finish that deck? What I did was I purchased Deadpool, thinking, right, I only need 1 card for each deck now, but in hindsight, what I should have done is not purchase Deadpool, and I should have waited for Ultron and just kept waiting. There is some joy in being able to play multiple decks. It is boring playing the same deck over and over and over again. For example, you'll bring your Deadpool out and somebody will just find a way to stop it, and you're just like, oh my god, I wish I'd just gone the Ultron deck. But you know, it's not. You also need other decks to be able to complete the missions, like playing 1-cost cards when you've got a deck that you play every day that's not got any 1-cost cards in. Yeah, so you need to have multiple decks. This 2-power deck, as you can see here, is not completed. I think I'm waiting for Cerebro and Brood, perhaps, in that one. I can't remember, whatever. But basically, I put these decks together, and then fortunately, through the collector's caches, I managed to get my Ultron, and I managed to get my Death without having to use the token shop. So then what I did was I thought, right, okay, I've got 2 decks that I can play. I've maybe made a mistake in the token shop here by purchasing something when I shouldn't have purchased it. There's no refunds, they're very clear on that. So my new tactic, and knowing that the Winter Wonderland is coming out on the 21st or the 24th of December, it said 21st initially, now it seems to have changed to the 24th, but whatever. I know there's going to be 2,000 collector's tokens in there, so that's already going to go up to 3.7, and then I just need to open a load of caches. So what I've done now is I've had a look at my play style over the last month and what decks I've enjoyed playing the most, and the Disruption deck that I've currently got is my favourite deck. By no means the meta deck in any way, shape or form. That's just below here as well. But the cards in there are all cards that sort of, your win trigger is obviously your Black Panther and Arnim Zola and Wong if possible, but there's so many ways you can change the game in there. Like you can use Storm and then Juggernaut and knock someone away, or if you've hit the location where you have to have the least power here to win, you can use Juggernaut again to push someone over there. If you get a Koyo and Scorpion off in the first 3 turns, you've got all of your cards +1 and the enemy cards in their hand -1, so that's a big swing. Yondu's just annoying because he usually kills America Chavez because she sits on the top of the deck and the card sort of gets drawn from underneath her. It's not, that's how it works. It's not like she just appears on turn 6. If she's at the top of your deck, what happens is she floats there and the next card underneath gets drawn. So if you use Yondu, it will kill her, which is handy. She's only in that deck really just to guarantee that I get the other cards. Iceman, also really annoying, very underrated. Baron Mordo, he is just infuriating. Like, you draw a card, and if they draw Wong and it sets its cost to 6, or Black Panther, it ruins those decks, or even the Devil Dinosaur. There's so many 5-cost cards that ruins. But yeah. But anyway, I mean, I digress. We're trying to talk about the token shop here. None of the cards that I've got in this deck were from the token shop, which is interesting because it's now my favorite deck. And in hindsight, I would now have 2,000 more tokens, whatever. This deck probably won't get me to infinity, but I enjoy playing it. It's so annoying for the opponent, and I laugh every time I win. It's one of those decks, the gotcha moments when Black Panther comes out and doubles up, and he's on Wong, he doubles up again, and then Arnim Zola comes out and it removes Wong first and then Black Panther, and oh yeah, it's just great fun. And like I say, there's a lot of ways you can win with it. It's a very nice deck to play. But what I have done is I've picked the one card that is going to be my deck in the future. And the Disruption deck is fun to play, and the complete opposite of that is not fun. No, you're sort of filling up locations, and yeah. The Destroy deck is the deck that I want to really enjoy later on, and Null is imperative to that, because he comes back, he comes on the board with the power of everything that's been destroyed in the game. So you can do, especially if you've got death as well. If you've destroyed 6 cards or 9 cards or whatever, and then you've got all the power from those rolled into Null and everything, it's going to be powerful, it's going to be great. So I have now pinned that after going on SnapFan and looking at the cards and the decks I want to go for, and that is the card I'm going to go for. Yeah, it might take me months. It shouldn't do. A month, something like that, or 2, to get that card, but then I have got that card and that is done, and I can start putting this deck together. So I think the way to work the token shop going forward is always to look on SnapFan, decide on the deck you want to go for, be patient, wait for the cards, just be so patient. And sometimes they pop up, like Wave popped up, and I was like, oh my god, I must get Wave. And then the Aero popped up. I was like, oh man, I've been beaten by Aero so many times, I must buy that, but I didn't get those. Incidentally, I now have those cards, but it was so tempting, and it's the worst thing you can possibly do is lose to someone and sort of rage, and then say you lose to Black Panther and you're like, oh my god, and then you go in the token shop and Black Panther's there and you're like, damn it, I'm getting that. So you buy Black Panther and you're like, cool, now there's no decks that I've got that it works with. I've just wasted whatever 6,000 credits, tokens. So that's the way forward for that, is to build your deck first, then wait for it to appear in the token shop. Doesn't matter how many tokens you've got, pin it, wait for it. You can always change your mind. I mean, I could change my mind right now, get rid of that, and then by tomorrow I will have seen 3 or 4 cards, and that's not a bad thing. The thing that infuriates me is, let's say that I have no tokens, and then Null appears, and I want 6,000 tokens, and you get 100. Unless you've completed Series 3, you get 100 from a collector's cache. So, and there's only a 25% chance of that. So for every 4 caches, so every 48 collector's levels, you'll get 100. So yeah, so 480 collector's level, you get what, 1,000? You can see where this is going. It's going to take a long time to get all these tokens. I can't really see somebody going from 0 to 6,000 in less than 2-3 months or something like that. And you're going to need in-game purchases. There's a lot that needs to go into it. So if you haven't reached 500 yet, then great. Keep those 3,000. Have a look at a Series 5 card you want to go for and probably pin it, unless you're really struggling to get into Galactic is all right. You probably want the 500 gold from going up one more level, but I mean, Infinity, the only benefit to being Infinity, to getting to Infinity, is Kudos, and they're obviously going to introduce a league table, so you can be part of that. Hopefully they'll introduce league tables for all the lower levels so we can all be part of it, or not have to rely on being so high up just to see your name somewhere. But yeah, the 500 gold from getting to 90 is very useful. But that's basically my take on the token shop. They're too hard to get, the tokens. Something probably needs to change. But while it is how it is, the best thing to do is to pin something like null, wait and wait and wait. And you know, the flip side is someone could say, well, if you clear all the Series 3 cards out by buying them from the token shop, then you free up your collector's reserves to give you more tokens. So by completing your Series 3, you then get 400, and there is definitely an argument for that. But it depends how far away you are from actually completing it. And you know, if you've got 20 cards to get in Series 3, then that's 20,000 collector's tokens that you need to get before you start getting the 400. So if you're fortunate enough that something like this pops up for you, I'd say pin it and wait. There are some really good Series 5 cards. It isn't going to take that long, and yeah, it's going to be really useful. I don't know if in the future, like let's say when they bring a Series 6 out, is it going to be that Series 3 doesn't appear in the token shop? Series 4 drops down to 1,000, Series 5 drops down to 3,000, and then Series 6 then becomes 6,000. If that's the case, then it might be worth waiting even then for the Series 6 to see what actually happens with the price of this pinned null. Like if Series 6 comes out before this pinned null is purchased and that drops to 3,000, then that's fantastic. But if it's that this will always be 6,000 and then Series 6 will be 9,000, then you know, these Series 6 cards are going to be insane. I mean, I'm talking with no knowledge here because I really don't know what's going to happen there, but it's something that's worth thinking about. You know, if there's a Series 6 release in a week and you're on 5,900 tokens, then just don't buy anything, just wait and see what happens. But that's my take on the token shop. In a nutshell, it's too hard to get tokens. I think we were all aware of that. But you can be shrewd with it. I would say I've wasted 2,000 tokens. I have enjoyed playing those decks and they've got me some levels, but I mean, when you look at the Khazar Zoo deck that can get you to infinity without having to buy anything, it's really about whether you want to play these cool cards or not. So hopefully you can take something from that. If someone had said to me at the start, don't buy anything, wait for null, I probably would have done. Especially now I know about some of the pool 1-2 decks that can get you really high. In fact, I actually lost levels after stopping playing the Khazar Zoo deck, which we'll talk about the Zoo deck in the next video. I'd like to talk about that in depth. But yeah, there we go. Hopefully you take something away from that that's useful for you. I know it would have certainly helped me at the start. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.